Hello, welcome to Politics 15, Season 3, Episode 4. So we're that kind of grumpy teenage years now. So if we had commercialised as much as I wanted to, this show would be sponsored by like Linkin Park, black t-shirts, black hoodies, those belts with like the metal studs on, which make them really heavy and quite pointless. They're more likely to make your trousers fall down.
And Link's body spray.
Oh yeah, definitely. But we're not sponsored by any of those people. So anyway, this week we will be talking about the migrant crisis, and we will try and keep the episode under half an hour, which was always our original intent. So
it was originally supposed to be 20 minutes.
Yes, well, we'll try and keep it down to 20 minutes because there's only sort of three things to talk about this week. So local time, it's 22:49. Let's go. So we've been meaning to talk about this now pretty much for the whole of season 3. Don't worry, Corbyn Watch is coming up. But the migrant crisis, which is still ongoing. ITV ran a report about it on Tuesday, just because they were like, they genuinely said, when it's not in the news, it's quite tempting to forget about it. And I was like, yes, that is true. It hasn't been on the news now for about 3 days. And he's like, oh, it's just washed away. But it hasn't. It's terrible. These are the things that we need to talk about. The total number of migrants is unknown. Estimated 600,000 in Germany so far.
Yeah.
With another estimation, there's not a lot of like solid facts here, but by the end of the year, Germany may take in 1.5 million refugees, which is more people than live in like Birmingham. It's basically like all of Northern Ireland, like it's roughly that sort of number. Obviously, Angela Merkel was the one who said Germany was, I forget the exact quote, open for business basically for the refugees, but open doors. And then a few days later said no. So doing a little bit of Katy Perry there, playing it hot and cold with the lives of hundreds of thousands of people. That was Germany. Other issues in this whole general sphere. ISIS have said that they will be sending trained ISIS militants over, disguised as refugees.
Great.
Now, I'm not saying we obviously don't know how many of those have been sent. They haven't sent us a press release or any sort of numbers, but I'm prepared. I'm prepared to take ISIS roughly at face value for what they say. That's when they say we will behead people, and then they do. I'm prepared to accept some of the refugees are militants. Equally, the people who say they are all ISIS militants, I think, are probably stretching the truth quite a lot. And then there's also the accusation that a lot of them are economic migrants. Now, really, I could pull a figure out of any orifice I wanted to say what percentage of the migrants are economic migrants. The figure of 1/3 is banded around quite a lot, or the figure that only 1/3 are from Syria. So, what to make of Afghan migrants? Is that a separate issue? Is it part of it? Are we to blame? Blah 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 blah. Is so many interlocking strands. But quote about 95% of them being economic migrants.
Was that Nigel Farage said that?
No, it wasn't. It was from Robert Fico, a Slovak minister for things. I doubt he's a minister for the refugee crisis. That would be a very hastily created post. But Robert Fico, let me just Google him. He was definitely some sort of government person.
But there's got to be a distinction made at the moment between the refugees that are coming from Syria and from other.
He's the Prime Minister of Slovak. So there was me thinking it was some sort of like the people who are in government. But there's the Minister for Northern Ireland. There's because things like Minister for Transport, reasonably.
My favourite is the cabinet post of Minister without portfolio. I mean, it's basically he's a cabinet member, but he's got nothing to be responsible for.
He's a minister for work experience. He should be doing apprenticeships, ironically. But I mean, there are. I mean, that was the accusation about Corbyn, was that he had like majority women, that they were in this all the sort of non-important things. Now, to be honest, if I was in government, I would put that on my CV, so it can't be that unimportant. Like, it's not negligible, but it's just not the top dog.
shadow First Secretary of State is apparently not a decent enough position for a woman to be president of. But of course, when Cameron reshuffled his cabinet, he made a huge deal about giving George Osborne the first Secretary of State, which would mean that George Osborne would be in position to answer Prime Minister's questions when Cameron was not available or out of the country or anything like that, and Corbyn wasn't available. So, so to give it to a woman, apparently, it's not a high enough position. But which is weird because the Tories made such a big thing out of Osborne being given First Secretary of State, and everyone's slating Corbyn for having the shadow Secretary of State, shadow First Secretary of State as a woman. I think, get a life. You know?
I mean, honestly, I feel bad. I know we're distracting the migrant crisis, but I can't remember if I made this joke at the time, but people honestly were slagging off Corbyn for not putting enough women in powerful government positions, right? Within the actual Labour Party of MPs, there weren't enough people who wanted him to be leader of the Labour Party to put in the powerful government positions anyway. So he was already handing out positions to people he sort of didn't like. Like, I'm going to put all the women and men who voted for me within the party in powerful positions. Oh wait, that's Andy. It's not even Andy Burnham. What's this guy?
One person.
Tom Watson. Yeah, he put Tom Watson in a powerful position, and the rest of them he was just throwing darts at a board.
Well, no, Tom Watson was voted in as deputy leader, so there was nothing he could do about that. It was John McDonnell that he put in as Shadow Chancellor. That was the only position that he knew he could count on. That was the only person he knew he could count on to do that. But Yvette Cooper and Liz Kendall really missed an opportunity to be part of the shadow cabinet and just try and wear down. Anyway, sorry, we're moving on from the migrant.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, we're
moving on to Corbyn Watch.
Important position in the shadow cabinet. There are none because you're not in government, so stop whinging about it. Anyway, but back to the migrant crisis. Yeah, Robert Fico, the Prime Minister of Slovakia, was the one who said 95% of them were economic migrants.
Good for him. So I'm assuming Slovakia are taking in none of their required quota of migrants then.
Well, I don't actually know what the quotas are, because in the UK we're taking in 20,000.
Yeah, over the next 5 years, which is pathetic.
Yeah, well, it's a lot less than the 600,000. And even if it was 20,000, originally I thought it was 20,000 in 1 year. When I was Googling this, I was like, oh, over 5 years. That's a 4,000 a year is literally nothing.
Yeah.
I honestly think we should accept every single migrant refugee and just put them all in Scotland, just to annoy Alex Salmond.
I love this. This is a guy who clearly voted UKIP because he wants independence from Scotland and Europe, and he wants to shove all the migrants that are coming over the channel up in Scotland. No, I think you're right, because if you put them up in Scotland, three things will happen, okay? Number one, they won't be able to understand anybody.
Well, they turn up for speaking perfect English, but they haven't got a clue. They need subtitles for the locals.
Yeah. Number two is they'll hate the weather, and number three, they'll go home. It's the perfect circle. It's, you speak perfect English, you go to Scotland, unable to understand anyone there because they all talk gibberish and have a funny accent. Then they don't like the weather because it's always cold and rainy in Scotland. Rio, raining for 40 days and 40 nights, as it says in the Bible, is actually a good summer in Scotland. And then you've got, so eventually they will want to go home. They will just be like, do you know what, stuff this for a laugh. We came to the UK because we thought we'd have jobs, we thought we'd be able to speak the language, we thought that we'd be able to work hard and improve the economy, and they've shoved us up in this dire pit hole. Why don't we just go back home, where even war-torn northern Syria is a nicer place to be, because at least when there's a hole in the roof, it doesn't piss rain down through it.
Are you suggesting that the level of violence is less than Glasgow on a Friday night?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
But anyway, we should stop making jokes about this, because the whole of this is we actually do talk some sense. Like, honestly, what do you think is going to be the upshot? My personal suspicion is that EU is going to enforce quotas.
Yeah.
Like, I know they sort of have, but it's kind of at an optional stage. They haven't put the hammer down yet and said, right, you're going to accept. Because essentially, it should be done on some sort of metric of population and total area?
I think it should be done on GDP. You know, if you've got a higher economic output, then you're required to take in more of these refugees. But the problem is that, say for argument's sake, the EU says, right, okay, you've got these quotas, you have to stick to them. You have to take in, say, for example, 100,000 a year, which I think we should be doing, personally. I think we should be taking in as many refugees as this country can handle. I think 20,000 over the next 5 years is pathetic, and we should be ashamed of ourselves for the lack of what we're doing to help solve the crisis. But the problem is, if the EU started imposing quotas on us, we'd end up with a much stronger voice for the leaving the EU within this country, which is just going to be awful economically for this country if we were to leave the EU. Just like it would have been awful for Scotland economically if they were to have left the Union. And for us to even consider leaving in the first place, and then for the EU to then slap these quotas on top of us, which I think they should do, and I think the government should go, yes sir, give us more so, but because unfortunately we've got a government which doesn't care about other people, as justified by your comment just before we came on air about the fact there were no poor people in this country, allegedly. But we have a government that won't do that, and if they do, if the government were to be told you have to take this many in, suddenly you've got a UK government that's going to be fighting on the side of the leave the EU vote, and that's not what we want to do. It's not the direction this country should be going in.
I'm not even going to add anything to that. That was from the heart. That was impressive. All I would say is I think we are, given the scale, because obviously the actual wave of migrants, I'm not sure if that's the right term, but the net movement from Turkey to Europe the European Union is continuing. So Turkey got something like 3 million refugees total in their borders, plus they're fighting a war with the Kurds, with Kurdistan, obviously, northern Iraq. Not actually a place where people are fleeing from, because the YPG are holding quite a lot of territory, which is nice, against ISIS. But obviously, Turkey, a country happy to see people leave. And I think because of the numbers, it's going to have to boil down to enforced quotas, given that the people are landing in Greece and Italy, i.e. all the countries which are in a more fragile economic situation. And I think the migrant crisis is going to be something that gets mentioned a lot during the Leave the EU campaign, which is kicked off. The Stay in the EU campaign was meant to kick off this week on Monday, but I've heard nothing from it, because there's two Leave the EU campaigns. There's one cross-party, and there's one spearheaded by UKIP, which is Say No to EU. The other one is
Leave.eu.
That's the one. We'll talk about those next week, because obviously that's going to be an issue for quite a long time. But I think that when people talk about leaving the EU, the migrant crisis is going to be part of that package, along with economics. But anyway, that's enough about the migrant crisis for one podcast, because we need to move on to one of our favourite features. It's Corbyn Watch.
Day 33, yes indeed.
Have you seen how sophisticated?
I love that. It almost says Corbyn Watch Day 1933. So it's like we've gone back to pre-Second World War. Hey,
with quotes like that, you could work for the Tory party as some sort of spin doctor. Think about Corbyn is taking us back to 1933.
I know. I was just thinking that pre-Second World War. Politically, we're going back to pre-Second World War, which is ironic. But so Corbyn Watch Day 33. What's he done this week? Well, this week he is still in a job. And I think that is the best thing we can say about him at the moment. This week he has he was in Prime Minister's Question Time, obviously.
Which again is part of his job, so that's good.
Yeah. He did a little different take, because of course last time he was on PMQs he asked questions about that have been posed to him by actual people. allegedly they weren't just cooked up people, like they weren't imagined people. I'd hope.
Well, like the ones on the physical advert, like my name's Dave, and I used to only have less money, but now I have more money. Vote for party insert name here.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. But yeah. So he didn't do it that way. He did it by asking questions, like asking. Obviously, he's being emailed loads of questions. So what he did was took all the questions and what the topics that were the highest priority, like most voluminous emails were about, and then he asked his own questions based on the emails that he'd received and he'd gone through. So, it was a different way of doing it, but I like the man. He's all right. He's a normal person. Yeah, but.
Do you not think he is
goes.
incredibly lazy? His job as leader of the opposition, right, is to question David Cameron. So for the last 2 weeks, he's gone, oh, I've got to question David Cameron. Oh, can't someone else write the question? He's literally sacked it off now for 2 weeks.
What he's done is, like when you watch American films or American TV programs where, like, the school bully gets some underling to do his homework for him, and then he like hands it in his own. Well, Jeremy Corbyn's missed a trick here with that, because he's telling everybody that he's bullying other people into writing his homework for him. So what he should be doing is saying, well, I wrote this one myself, Prime Minister. What do you think the budget deficit should be in fiscal year 2017, 2018? Why doesn't he do it himself? You're right, he's being lazy, but I just think he's more being of that sort of school bully type lazy, where he's just telling people, write my questions for me, tell me what I should ask.
Dear Mr. Corbyn, do you still think HS2 is a good idea? From Jeremy.
Yeah. Yeah, I wrote that to myself. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it was a mildly interesting version of PMQs. I actually watched it because I wasn't at work on Wednesday. Interesting thing, you may have seen at the Tory Party conference. I've got so much feedback again. This is all about Generation Buy, is Cameron's big thing. No more Generation Rent. So you get a modest starter home in London will cost no more than £400,000. So
so you need £74,000 a year to be able to buy his starter home.
Yeah.
Well done, Cameron. That's affordable for most people, where the average wage in this country is £28,000 a year. You, sir, have not got a clue about what normal people do.
We should point out, you may not need to actually earn that much total, because I know someone who's just been offered a mortgage, not at the 5 times mortgage rates that we were being doled out just before the crash in 2008, nor at the 4 times total income rate, which was meant to be the new limit to rein in irresponsible lending, but at over 5 times total salary. So, yeah, good to see the banks have reformed themselves. More on that next week.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that whoever that is will be able to pay it back and not be repossessed, so fingers crossed.
Yeah, but anyway, so Corbyn's still in a job. That was Corbyn Watch. We need to move on to celebrity gossip quickly and try and round off the show in a timely manner. The celebrity gossip this week is the biggest non-story. I mean, I know we rarely actually cover anything on this. We sort of talk about the issues, which I like, actually. It's good. But normally we actually talk about something that has happened. And the thing that has happened this week is that Taylor Swift and Calvin Harris have not broken up.
Yeah, it's official. It's like big news as well. Big news. In fact, it got so big that Calvin Harris even took to Twitter. Now, there is an expletive in this one, which I won't say because this is a children's program.
Yeah, you replace it with a child-friendly word like bananas or gelatin.
Okay. It's not going to be a happy ending for everyone I sue for defamation of character for all these gelatin stories. Bye-bye.
Those are some very gelatin stories. We should point out, if anyone wasn't aware of what's actually going on, the story was reported that Mr. Harris had a happy ending at a massage parlour, which is possibly because he gets all the girls, or maybe that's why he wasn't worried about getting another girlfriend. Although some people have pointed out that's not acceptable in 2015. It might have been in the 80s, but not now.
Hey.
I was pointing out all these are like other people's jokes I read from YouTube comments. So apart from all the girls one, that was mine about getting another girlfriend.
You're not going to try and whack out every single Calvin Harris track since 2001 in one hit.
I'll be honest, making a joke about this track Electro Man is quite tricky. Take it off, on the other hand, much easier.
Yeah, funnily enough. But yeah, sorry, go on. About the happy ending in the massage parlour.
Well, that was what was reported by a close source, some sort of like fictitious, possibly source. And that was reported in an online celebrity gossip place. Not this show. We didn't break the story.
No, we don't get scoops like that.
No, but one day we might. By like Politics 99, we might have stumbled upon something.
You mean Politics 1999, don't you?
Maybe. If we just go on holiday to Marbella and see loads of like TOWIE cast members, then
we'll come back looking as orange as they do. But carry on.
Yeah, that's when we commercialise this show and get free holidays.
Yeah.
So, that's not going to happen.
No.
Maybe camping in your garden. That's about as far as we're going to get. But,
I don't know whether camping in my garden or camping in your garden is better.
I don't know. I haven't got a standing tap. But anyway, yeah. So that was it. Calvin Harris was accused of getting a happy ending. Now the point I like about this story is, if you've read out the tweet, is that at no point does Calvin Harris actually deny the happy ending. What he denies is the breakup. So I don't know if he's like the opposite of Bill Clinton.
As in, sort of, yeah. I see what you mean.
Because when you think about it, all the comments online have been about how they haven't broken up. He doesn't, I'm not saying it did happen, but at no point did he say it didn't. So,
well, I don't know. If you were Taylor Swift and had a lot of money, would you put up with the idea that your other half was going to go to a massage parlour? Why would you need to when you got someone like Taylor Swift, if I'm being honest? That seems a bit pointless to me. But what's it
is a very odd situation, but don't forget, there are precedents for this in the world of celebrities. Like Ashley Cole cheated on Cheryl Cole, so, people
Cheryl
do make...
Fernandez Vassini, sorry, my bad.
But that's what she's known as now. She wasn't known as that back then. But,
no, obviously.
And then she went through a period of just being called Cheryl.
Yeah.
I don't know if Miss Crow's lawyers got onto her and she had to change, but...
No. But also, the thing is that the rumours surrounding Calvin Harris and Taylor Swift 1 week were that they were going to get engaged, that Calvin Harris had bought a ring and all that kind of thing. He was going to pop the question, and not even a week later they were going to break up. And come on, just do one or the other. Stop leaving us all in suspense, guys. In suspense, I tell you.
Maybe we should start spreading rumours like, I can't believe Taylor Swift is playing golf for 18 hours a day. Ugh.
That's a really rubbish rumour, I must admit.
Okay. Well, I mean, we don't have very good lawyers.
What's wrong with it? Because you've been playing golf recently. You spent all yesterday being a golfist.
This isn't a podcast for my ego. This is a podcast where we talk about serious news and then lighten the mood with some nonsense celebrity gossip.
Well, that's what I'm saying is, why don't you claim that you saw Taylor Swift on the golf course near where you live?
Yeah, but it was really weird because she was not dressed as you would expect. She was wearing golf attire and she didn't look like Taylor Swift. But she had a lovely swing, so that's good.
And she was with some Scottish bloke, but we won't talk about that.
Yeah, well, he's Scottish, so he should be good at golf. Like, it's in his genes. Anyway, final point we should make. Our one and only listener, Paul, big shout out to Paul, thank you very much for watching this, has done more watching and more commenting. And one of his comments says, for like leaving the first comments, does he win anything? Which caught me by surprise, because I feel like he should. I'm just not in a position to actually dole out any sort of rewards or prizes.
How about he wins a shout out?
If he gets a shout out anyway, maybe he wins one times tweet from the official Politics Twitter. I will. I'll make sure that is taken care of.
Well, considering as you're the only person who runs the politics Twitter and it never bloody tweets.
Well, yeah, I keep meaning to tweet links to the shows, but I haven't done that. But I'll get on with that this week, and I will give Paul a tweet, and maybe.
We've also created a blog. People, we have created a blog. I was bored at work one day, so I made a blog. So if you like what we're saying here, you can enjoy what we're writing in the blog as well, I hope, because it's supposed to be funny. And
It's not that I want to poo-poo your idea, but I probably won't be writing much on the blog.
Well, in all fairness, mate, you're not the writing kind, are you?
I'm not a prolific writer. I did design the logo for the show, so there's I'm a bit of a more
and there's proof. There is proof.
Anyway, thank you very much, Paul, for watching, and we will hopefully see you again next week.
Bye for now.
Bye for now.